Begin the current Daf, Mesech Beitzah Daf. We begin on the top line of the Amid, where we continue in the theme of the previous Daf. Again, this has been basically the topic of this Mesech since the beginning. Beitzah Shanol, the Mesech Beitzah talks about the egg that was laid. We talk about that of 2 days of Goliath from one day to the next, and also regarding as it relates to Rosh Hashanah, especially in today's times. What's the halachic status of Rosh Hashanah? Therefore, from one day to the other, regarding the Beitzah Shanol. Cheers, corresponds because of Necheskel to anything that Hashem is joining us for today's daf. Some of these we're going to discuss in today's daf are various halachas of burial on Yom Tov, halachas about a baby chick which is hatched on Yom Tov, different than what we're speaking about now. We're talking about the Beitzah Shanol, the egg was laid. And we're talking about there's an egg that's being hatched, out pops a baby chick. What's the halachas of that chick, and related topics of general muktzah on Yom Tov. So the key terms the concept we discussed in today's daf are Daf Yomi, which we're going to learn later on this Masechta, regarding the halacha that although really allowed to cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos, Rabban said not, but only if you prepared something, a cooked dish that you did from before Yom Tov, then you go cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos. Muktzah is the halacha that we know something is set aside, it was not designated for Shabbos use, then you can't use it on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Who was the concept that the fetus is considered like the thigh, like a part of the mother, hence if you shach the mother, then that's also permitting the fetus, although it's a regular animal inside, also to be permitted. Mukhla Adam Lahav Mukhla Klavim is the concept that something's designated for a person. Let's say Erev Yom Tov, Erev Shabbos, it was something that was a kosher living animal, which you could generally slaughter and use of a person. It's not considered prepared for a dog, even if it's going to die and it's going to be in the Vela, we consider it as muktzah. Mekach is the halacha when you have an erroneous acquisition, there's a mistake, there is a presumption in the contract and it's not lived up to that, then it's considered that the sale is void. So begin the card Daf. Amar Rav. Rabbi says, again, although we're talking about a dead person, it's very much continuing in the theme that we said regarding these 2 days of Yom Tov, both in Goliath and the Rosh Hashanah, how would qualify the 2 different days in its halachic status. Some Rabbi says, mes, if there's a dead person that's waiting to be buried. So it depends. The Yom Tov Rishon, let's say it's on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, the halacha is yisasku boy amamim. So you have the Gentiles of the world, the nations, they go ahead and they could bury the dead person. But Meis, Yom Tov Sheni, if you have a dead person on the second day of Yom Tov, yes, this is on any 2-day Yom Tov. It's asked by Yisrael. So then you have the Yisrael could bury the person who died. And it says, Rabbi says, even, I'm telling you, my chiddush is even by the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, you could have a Yisrael bury this person that is waiting to be buried. Whereas Masha'enkin Be'ah, which is not the case by a Be'ah. Because regarding an egg, we were not lenient by the second day of Rosh Hashanah to those of the second day of other days in Galus, where Rosh Hashanah, as we had said in the previous stuff, is different. Beitzah Shanol Bezeh, we said regarding Shar Yom Tov Shel Goliath, a second day is permitted because 1 day is Kodesh, 1 day is Chol. But the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, we said, is Yom HaRichtet, it's 1 Kedusha. We said, therefore, Beitzah Shanol Bezeh is Asur Bezeh. But by the dead person, we're going to be machalik. It's not going to be the same as for the egg, although the egg is also b'yom tov sheni, but the dead person is going to be permitted. That's what Rava says. Narda'ami, however, the Nardians, they say, no, af bebeya, even by the egg, if it's laid on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, it's permitted the second day of Rosh Hashanah. And they say a svara. What's your understanding? Why would you say that the egg would be forbidden on Yom Tov Sheni, because for those who are far from Bezdin, meaning a Rosh Hashanah, because Dilma Ma'abri Leila El, it's really going through the discussion regarding what the original takana was, as we spoke about in the previous stuff. Maybe they're going to make El into a full month of 30 days, not 29 days as it usually is, which that was the original takana, that they're going to start counting from the second day of Rosh Hashanah, and they're going to make 2 days Rosh Hashanah with 1 sanctity, which the Gesois changed in Rashi. For example, let's say Edom didn't come until after Mincha time, which that was the whole reason we said that you're going to have this 2-day, 1 day Rosh Hashanah. So that's why you would say the Beitzah Shanol Bezeh is going to be Asur Bezeh. But although that's your concern that maybe they're going to be Ma'abel El, Ha'amr Rav Chinina Bar Kahana Marav, he says, Mimois Ezra Ba'elach. When they said Ezra Sefer many years ago, L'Metzina El Ma'uba, we never found a full El. So as Rashi explains, even though you're right, they were masak in this idea that you could have a 2-day Yomai Richta Rosh Hashanah. It never happened that Edom ever came after Zman Mincha, except for that one time when they had not yet instituted and they had this problem with the Levium about saying the wrong shiur. So essentially what the Nardians are saying is that we never made it into this one Kedusha, because it's never even happened that the Edom came in a Mincha Lamala. Why is he picking from the days of Ezra onwards? Because actually Rashi explains it actually did happen in the days of Ezra, that they made El not 29 days as it always is, they actually made it to 30 days. As it says in Sefer Nehemiah, by Yom Hasheni, it was the second day, it was talking about Rosh Hashanah, that there was 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. So therefore the Nardians, they say that Beis Hanolda Bezev, the first day of Rosh Hashanah, is Mimutter on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, because it's never happened basically. It's a moot point, this idea about Edom coming Acha Minchas or make a Yom HaRichta, and therefore even Chutzlot we maintain that never happened, and therefore they say we don't have it. But Rava says no. Rava says, as we said in the previous daf from Rav, we paskin like Rav, Beis Hanolda Bezev in the first Rosh Hashanah, we also second Rosh Hashanah, but for a mess, then we're going to be lenient in the second day of Yom Tov, and we're going to allow it to be buried by Amama. Now, explaining this opinion of Rava, Amaz Zufra says, Lord Mon, we didn't say this, that a Yisrael, a Yid, could bury someone in the second day of Rosh Hashanah, El Dishtai, only if there's a delay, and they're afraid that the body's going to decompose. But if it didn't delay, let's say it's right before the end of the second days of Rosh Hashanah, there's no big delay, then we will wait, we won't just bury him like that, we'll wait till Matzah Yom Tov and then we'll bury him. But Rashami disagrees, says no. Even though there's no delay, we're not going to delay, we're going to bury him with a Yid right then and there in the middle of Rosh Hashanah. My time, what's the reason? It says, I'll tell you why. Yom Tov Sheni, the second day of Yom Tov, Legabe Mes, regarding a dead person, Kechol Shavin Rabbanan, the Rabbanan consider like a weekday. And Afil Lemegez like Lima, and it's even to go ahead and just cut for him a cloak, or Lemegez also to cut for him Hadassim, which they used to put on the coffin of a dead person for his honor. Even that you're allowed to do on Yom Tov. It's like a vachadik. Yom Tov Sheni is like Tuesday. That's how, for a mess. And therefore you're allowed to do whatever you need to do. You don't have to wait those next few hours till Matzah Yom Tov. That's the machlekes that they have. Now, however, Amar Ravina, he says, however, but today's times, where they were in Babel, there was a wicked nation in the days of the Persians that forced the Jews to do their work. Now, for Yom Tov, they would push the Chavrim away, and they would say, it's Yom Tov. Well, what can we do? So therefore, Chashinim were concerned. If they're going to see that we're burying our dead on the second day of Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah, they're going to say, okay, get to work, Jews, because they see you guys are doing work. So therefore, it says today's times we don't do it anymore. Yisrael, but Yom Tov Sheni, because else they're going to say no teritzim. And Rashi just points out this that we said that, but technically you could even cut a glima, a cloak for the dead person. It doesn't mean those that are what the mess needs, because he has tachrichim already. Because if he needed tachrichim, what would you say that you could even be megas like lima? But you said on the second day of Yom Tov you could bury him, and that's what I mean. Bury means digging the grave, and means cutting the tachrichim. So obviously, when we're saying you could even do a gleam of him, it's what's not even necessary. Similar to the hadassim, which also unnecessary. It's just we're beautifying the casket, the coffin, where you let it cut that. The chiddush is that even though it's an effort that's unnecessary, just for the honor and the dignity of the dead person, you're allowed to do that because again, for the dead person, the mamish made it like a weekday. Therefore, that was the chiddush of that halacha. Again, we have machlekes if that applies if there's a delay, or it's only if it's a delay or no delay. And again, they said, but ha'idno, we're not going to do it anyway because we're concerned. Now the Gemara brings a story relating to this differentiation of the second day of Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah. Ravina Havi Yosef Kameda, and the Ger says the Rav Ashi. Ravina was sitting in front of Rav Ashi. B'shnei Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah, on the 2 days of Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah. Chazye, Ravina saw Rav Ashi, the Otzev, that was depressed. He was down. Amalei says to him, "My Otzev Ma, why is the master down? Why are you depressed?" Amalei says, "Dolei Sibi Erev Tavshin." He says, "I didn't prepare the Erev of cooking, which to be able to cook and bake from Yom Tov to Shabbos, and Mishnah teaches later on, as we'll learn the sugya of Erev Tavshin of Tezvam Beis, a person has to make a cooked dish from Erev Yom Tov for the purpose of being an Erev. It's a guarantee for allow him to go ahead and cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos. He says, now it's Yom Tov. I didn't make an Erev. What am I going to do? How am I going to have the chulin for Shabbos? The bundlin is not cooked. So Amalei said to him, what's the problem? We're still on the first day Rosh Hashanah now. I have a great idea. Rosh Hashanah was Thursday and Friday. So go ahead, make an Erev today, make it tonight. Say, if today is weekday and tomorrow is Kodesh, great, this is Erev Yom Tov, make an Erev. If today is really Rosh Hashanah and tomorrow is weekday, then you don't need to make any Erev Tov. Fratig is going to be a Choil Erev Shabbos. Didn't Rabbi say that a person could go ahead and make an Erev Tavshilin, make an Erev Tavshilin, make a stipulation, and then say whichever one, and then the first day Yom Tov, you can make an Erev Tavshilin for Shabbos when it's a 3-day Yom Tov. Amalei says, no, you're making a mistake. When did Rabbi say this idea of making a condition? That is when you have a 2-day Yom Tov in the diaspora. Where then, like we said, one day is going to be Kodesh, one day is going to be Choil, and you is a Sveik of the Yom, and either way, you're going to be able to get around it because it's two different Kedushas. But, B'shnei Yom Tov, Rosh Hashanah Miyama, did he say it by the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, which is Kiyoy Ma'arech, like a one long day, and they both have the same sanctity? Do you think he would say like that? You can't say it because it's like one day, and you can't go ahead and make it now anymore, it's too late. But then he responded, he says, why? Why is that the case? But V'amar Nardoi, the Nardians, which we quoted this before, said, Apei Muteris, they said that even on Rosh Hashanah, a Be'er Shenol de Bezeh is Muteris Bezeh. What you see from the Nardians is that obviously it's Beis Kedushas, it's not like Yom Arichta. So Amalei Rav Mordechai, who heard this conversation, said to Ravina that don't ask Rav Ashi from the Nardians. Because Beferish Amalei Mar says, I explicitly heard from the master, from Rav Ashi, till he doesn't hold of the Nardians. Rav Mordechai was a Talmud of Rav Ashi, as the Gemara says in Seiv Nevam Day, so he's telling that Ravina that he holds like Rava, that the only time that he would be maker would be by a mess, but by Be'er Shenolda, he held with the Yosins. Obviously, he holds it like Yom Arich, and therefore that's why he was depressed. He says, "What's Kenachtin? There's no chulent for the Shabbos Seder because I can't make an Erev Tavshilin. I can't do it tonight. That would work by Yitshneim and Tam Shabeli. It's not going to work on Rosh Hashanah because the Yom Arichta, and therefore he had no options." Now, continuing on this halacha of our Mishnah of Be'er Shenolda, we start a new sugya, very similar one. But we learned not regarding an egg, but regarding a froyach, regarding a chick. Shenoyle b'yamtiv, it's using the same word, but it's just a different function. It's not so much that the egg is coming out of the chicken that's being laid, it's hatching. So it's popping out of the shell. What's the halacha with that chick that hatched on Yom Tov? So machlekes amarom. Rav Amar says you're not allowed to use that chick. Shmuel v'item is something Rabbi Yechonam. It's mutter. You're allowed to. What's machlekes? The Gemara explains. Rav Amar says muktu. It's muktzah. Like Taisus brings that even according to Rabbi Shimon, who generally doesn't hold a muktzah, he would agree in such a muktzah because it's very similar to what we call gregis v'tzimukin, which is something that's totally set aside. Rabbi Shimon holds you don't have to really prepare it, but something that you're putting it to dry up, you're not going to be using it. You're also in the egg itself. The chick has no access whatsoever. It's totally set aside, and therefore it's going to be muktzah. You can't use it. Shmuel, Rabbi Yechonam, says no muktzah. It's going to be permitted. You know why? I'll tell you why. The interesting svara that we're going to talk about shortly, the chick permits itself, when it's born, when it hatches, it permits itself b'shchita. What does that mean? That you could now go ahead and slaughter the chick, which was not the case before it was hatched. As we're going to shortly explain, the chick is forbidden, like a sheretz, like a shkutzim, in the egg itself. You can't eat it. When it hatches, then you could start eating it by shechting it. So therefore, once we're saying that it permits itself from, let's say, from the Issa of Shkutzim, so then it's also going to permit itself from the laws of Muktzah when it's hatched. Because like a Migui. Migui, the Askin Laha, once it prepares up now that you could eat it, it also prepares itself for the lachas of Muktzah. So that's the machlekes, Rav and Shmuel, is a permitter as Asa. So Amalei Rav Kahana Rav Asel Rav. So these two Amaram asked Rav, who said that the egg that was hatched, the chick that was hatched on Yom Tov, is going to be awesome. What's the difference between this case of the chick hatching? If you have a calf that was born on Yom Tov, which the Beitzah teaches later on, that Yom Tov, you're on the farm over there, and they hear a lot of noise. Oh, it gave birth. Bessie gave birth, and there's a calf that's born. Geshmaka Igla Tilsa, it's a third born calf, which is Geshmaka flesh, just in time for the day Sida, and it's mutter according to everybody. So what's the difference between a calf being born or a chick hatching? Why you rub? Why are you saying that's us? And by the calf, everyone agrees give me mutter. He says a svar. He says there is different. Because since it was prepared, the calf through its mother when it was in the mother's womb, beshchita, meaning if you slaughtered the mother, you'd be able to eat the calf that's inside. So it was muchen. Whereas over here, the egg was not muchen. You couldn't eat it when it's still in the shell. But then they asked him another question. Okay, but ma bein zeh, what's the difference between this case le'egel shenileh ben atreifa? Aha, you lose your svara when there's a calf born from a treifa mother. The child is going to be usher if you find it inside the treif in the mother, because ubeyerech imayhu, where the fetus has the same halachic status like the mother. Now, when you're slaughtering the mother, you're coming to eat it, so the fetus has the same halachic status. So that's when it's inside the mother. Now, if it's born on Yom Tov from the treifa, so you can't say you're svara muchen agavimay. You know you could have had it when it was inside the womb. How? Well, you can't access it. No, you shech the mother, and you'd be able to get the calf. That's not true if the mother's a treif. It has a mortal defect. The mother's a treif. You can't eat the mother. So it's not prepared agavimay. And still you're telling me that when it's finally late, when it's born, you could shech itself and you're permitted to eat it and shech and eat it. No one says it's usher. So what's the difference between the chick hatching? It's the same thing. It's not muchen agavimay, and this wasn't a muchen agavimay. So why there it's usher and here it's mutter? So Shasik Rav. Rav was quiet. He didn't have an answer. So Amar Abba, Vitem says Rabbi Yosef, my time is Shasik Rav. Why was Rav quiet? Why didn't he tell them there was utility? It wasn't totally muktzah. And that is by Bein Hashmashik, by twilight, which establishes the status of something if it's muktzah or muchen. The mother, which is a treifa, was really, what was it designated for? What are you going to do with a treifa animal? You're going to throw it to the dogs. You can't eat it. Yeah, but it's a treifa.
But alive is not.
What are you doing? What are you doing with a live?
It's not the dog food when it's alive. You don't put that.
What are you doing? So what are you doing with a treifa?
When it's alive, you let it live. When it's dead, you could give it to Klovim. Is it food when it's alive?
Right, but I'm saying, well, what is it designated for? Yeah, you're saying what? You can use it for what?
But
for...
it's not buchon. Yes, it could be buchon when it dies. But you're bechat chomenos nor Klovim. You're not bechat alive.
I'm saying it's no different in a living animal that it's muchen la'adam because you could slaughter it.
Because you're allowed to do shchite, so it's muchen for you. But you are not. In other words, you
can't throw a living animal.
You could kill it and give it to Klubim.
Can't throw a living animal. You're saying to the dogs.
Or can you kill it and give it to dogs?
No, can you just let it the dogs? It's not balachayim. Yeah, but it sounds like it's muchen for that, and therefore it's going to be. So therefore, I'll tell you why the calf of even the treifa is going to be permitted. But Rashi explains. He says a chick in the shell is not oimelachilas klavim because they don't eat it like that, and even for people it's not fit. So therefore, that's why it would be noilid, which was inaccessible up until this point. And then it's going to be asur. So why didn't Rav give such a chiluk, a lamdasha chiluk, and say that no, by the calf it is muchen. Muchen for what? It's treifa. It's muchen agavimah because for klavim. What are you doing with the treifa animal? You're going to feed it to the dogs. But here the shell, no one's eating it. It's not prepared at all. So it's noiler. It's a new zach. It wasn't going to be permitted agav anything.
When was this egg laid?
And it's hatched. Oh, when was it laid?
Yeah.
Let's say before Yom Tov.
Before Yom Tov? You knew it was going to come out. It's going to hatch.
So meaning what you're saying, if you're oimed mitzapa, mosa, yavoy.
So it's saying like you're waiting for the treifa to die.
Right, I hear what you're saying, but it's still a noilid. Still a noilid, and it's something that wasn't in existence from beforehand, so we say that's the muktzah of noilid.
It's the same existence as the calf in the womb of the mother.
No, but see, the calf is different because it's actually accessible now. How's it accessible now? It's in the mother, because you shech the mother.
It's still muchen.
What?
It's not accessible, it's still muchen, just like the...
Right, no, because it's muchen right now. even before it comes out, it's muchen. Here, the egg until it comes out of the shell, you can't do anything with it. No dogs are eating it, and the human can't eat it. In this day right now, is it muchen? By the egg, it's not, and by the calf, it is.
Well, you can take out the chick.
What?
You can't take the egg, crack the egg, and open it and take out the chick if it's.
To crack the egg
C-section.
and take out the chick.
No need to be a surgeon for that.
You mess up the DNA.
No, I'm saying unless it's not ready until the last minute. I mean, it's,
You're saying for the humans, for the chick. I hit. But in that state, as it was in the egg, so it's saying there is this chilik that it's muchen leklavim. So why not at least say that, and that would have been a good answer to say why everyone agrees mutter because it is muchen now. But here the egg has no right now in its state in the shell. It has no muchen at all. So Abaya says, as you continue to he says no. I'll tell you why Rav didn't give that answer, because Hashta now muchen. In other words, this is what the Gemara was saying, asking a question. Yeah, he's basically asking on their question. He's saying, how could you say your svara? I'll tell you why your svara doesn't make sense. Because hashda muchen adam lav muchen leklavim. Whoever holds to the laws of muktzah, if something is prepared for a human being, it's not considered prepared for the dogs, as we find according to Rabbi Yehuda, who he holds the laws of muktzah. If an animal became in the vela on Shabbos, let's say punkta, it just died. The cow fell off a cliff, or whatever this and that. Where yesterday, Ben Nashmashis, it was a regular cow, it was going to be used for human consumption. So that's considered muktzah for dogs. Where do we find? It's not, we learn in Mishnah Masechta Shabbos that says, you can cut gourds, these type of pumpkins, in front of the animals. That's in the veil of neck, which is a chiddush damals. Tircha, whatever, that's in the veil of neck klavim. But this is the main halacha we're discussing. A dead animal, you could cut for the dogs. Yehuda, who he holds the laws of muktzah, he says no. Lois in the veil of Shabbos. If it wasn't dead already before Shabbos, asura, then it's going to be forbidden. You can't cut up the nevela on Shabbos because it's not considered prepared for what you want to use it for, which was for dogs. So because since it
has to be dead before Shabbos, before Yom Tov.
Well, that's because muchen la'adam, not by a treifa.
No, but he's a chachal kluvim we're talking.
Right, but that's what it's saying. If it became in the vela from before Shabbos, then it would be permitted. But that's because in the vela it's not a treifa. Treifa would be the equivalent of like in the vela. If a treifa would be permitted, just like in the vela would be. But so the Gemara is asking, so muchen leklavim, if it's prepared for dogs, meaning as a treifa, have a muchen la'adam? You want to tell me that it should be prepared for a human? Meaning you're telling me that you're asking a question on Rav. Why didn't he say that the calf will be mutter? Because it's muchen agav imay, because the mother that's a treifa could be used for dogs, so therefore I should consider the child that's going to actually be born on Yom Tov also muchen agav imay. So you want to take something that's muchen leklavim and make it muchen la'adam, but we see muchen la'adam is not muchen leklavim. So how can you say muchen leklavim is muchen la'adam? Because as we quoted, if it was muchen la'adam, if it was a regular animal and became the vela on Yom Tov, you can't check it because since muchen la'adam is not muchen leklavim, so how can you say muchen leklavim is muchen la'adam? Right? You want to tell me muchen leklavim because it was a treifa, so it's muchen that you could now eat that child. So Amal in he says yes, actually it is like that. It's not such a difficulty. Why? Because the muchen la'adam have muchen leklavim. Why? If something prepared for humans, not prepared for dogs, because the mind chazal leinish. Whatever's fit for a person, ashad like klavim, it doesn't throw it to the dogs. Ashud, kenistus essence, that you don't throw to the birds on when you go for tashlach. This is get the bright. You have to take, this is moldy already, that's what you throw to the, it's fit for humans, you don't give it to the dogs. Muchen la'adam have muchen la'adam, yeah. Even dog food is considered prepared for a person, as long as it's kosher. Because the daita, the inish, the thoughts of a person, whatever is fit for him, he has in mind that even if it's dog food, like the mother that's a treifa, you will think about the child. So therefore the uber, the fetus in the treifa mother's womb, it's going to be fit when it's going to be born. So therefore from yesterday, the mother that's a treifa is already thinking about it when it's going to be born, he's going to eat it. And again, therefore the question does go back. Why was Rav silent? Rav could have had a good answer to the question to be mechalik between the chick that's being hatched, which has no muchen at all, to that of the fetus of the treifa and the mother that it would have. Because muchen leklavim have a muchen la'adam, because the person thinks about whatever he could eat. Now, however, the Gemara says, Tanya Kavasei de Rav. However, although we had a question why Rav didn't answer, but because there is a good answer, we do have a brisa that says like Rav that the chick that hatches on Yom Tov is going to be forbidden. And but Tani Kabasei the Shmuel, we also have a brisa like the other opinion, a brisa like both of them. So there seems like the Machlekes Samarim is a Machlekes Tanom already. Tani Kabasei the Rav, we have a brisa like Rav says Egel Shenel B'Yom Tov, which we said everyone agrees to this halacha. Cat that's born on Yom Tov is going to be mutter. A Froich Shenel B'Yom Tov is aser. The chick that hatches on Yom Tov, like Rav said, is going to be aser. Ma Hefresh bin Zelazeh. What's the difference between a chick? What's this type of discrimination against chickens versus fleisch that's going to be mutter but not chicken? I'll tell you why. The calf is considered prepared secondary to its mother of its being able to be slaughtered. But you could get to the calf that's inside already by slaughtering the mother. But the chick in the egg is not considered prepared through the mother because it's in the shell. As long as in the shell, there's no way of accessing it. The dogs are not going to eat it, and the person can't eat it, and therefore that's the chili between the chick and the calf. But Tani Kabbalah said this more. The Rebbe saying like Shmuel also. We tell some says Rabbi Yechna. Ego Shnel B'Yom Tov mutter. Like I said, everyone agrees the calf is born Yom Tov mutter. The Frech Shnel B'Yom Tov is also mutter, like Shmuel. The chick that hatches is also mutter. My time, what's the reason? So it says the same story we said before. Okay, the calf is prepared through its mother, and the chick mater atzma b'shchita. So that was the migui that we said for Shmuel, that once it's now going to be permitted to go ahead and shecht it and eat it. So that migui already says, so since we're permitting it for that, so it's also permitting it from the laws of mukta, and it's not going to have halacha that making it forbidden because of nailus. Continuing on this theme, turn our bottom within the Beitzah, again supporting the opinion of Rav. So this Beitzah says clearly like Rav, the chick that was hatched on Yom Tov is going to be forbidden. But he says another thing. He says, says a chick that hatched on even a weekday is going to be asa. What does that mean? It means to say right when it hatched. Because its eyes didn't open up yet. And as the Gemara is going to explain later on, that was included in the Isser of Mikol HaSheretz HaSheretz HaLa'aretz. It's considered like a sheretz, as long as it didn't open up its eyes yet. The Tanakam is obviously saying when it's in the egg, it's going to be forbidden. It becomes permitted when it comes out. Rabbi Eliezer says no, even when it comes out, it's going to be forbidden as long as it didn't open up its eyes yet. Which the Gemara says, and command az lahaditani, according to whom is it going like the following Beitzah and Yikra, which says that l'chol hasheretz hasheretz hala'aretz, for every sheretz that crawls on the ground, the pasuk says over there in Yikra, don't eat them because it's sheketz, it's an abomination. What's l'chol hasheretz? He already described all the shotzen. Comes to include a chick that didn't yet open up its eyes. When it comes out, its eyes are still closed and didn't open up yet. Come on, who's that like? That's Rabbi Yaakov, who we just said holds it forbidden even in a weekday. Now, continuing on this vein, regarding the egg and the chicken, so Amar Rav Huna Merav says, Beya, he says the following enigmatic statement, which we're going to have in this daf and on the next daf, different interpretations of what is he trying to say. But the words are like this. Beya, an egg, im yitzi also when it comes out, nigmara, when it comes out, then its creation is finished. But before that, it's not considered a full-fledged beya. Again, which the Gemara is going to explain exactly for what halacha is he talking about. So the Gemara asks, "Ma im yitzias nigmar." What does he mean to say when he says when it comes out it's going to be finished? Ilim im yitzias nigmar. If he means to say that when the egg comes out, only then is it finished. Meaning, umuteres la'achla b'chalav, and now you could eat, you could have cheese in your eggs because now it's a beya. But it's not up until now. What was it? It was flesh. The egg was inside the chicken. The chicken is fleshy. So the eggs is the way it forms in the body of the chicken. It's ovaries. And this is all from the chicken itself. So it's meat. It only becomes pariv when it comes out of the chicken, and then it's a beya. Now, how it sounds like, but if you find in the me'ima, in the womb of its mother, it's not yet an egg. It's going to be asur. Then you can't eat the eggs with milk because it's flesh. It's part of the chicken. But Vatanya in the Bryce not like that. The Bryce says, if someone slaughters a chicken, and he finds full eggs, which Rashi actually explains with discussion exactly what he means, but even without the outer white peel, whether it means the shell or whether it means the white part, it's just only the yolk itself. And even though it's still attached to the spine of the chicken, he's allowed to eat those eggs that you find in the chicken with milk. As he's going to explain later on, for the fact that Rabbi Yaakov disagrees and he says that if it was attached to the gin, it's going to be usher, it's obvious that the Tanakh holds that even if it's attached, it's going to be mutter. So what are you telling me? It's only an egg when it comes out? I mean, if you shech the chicken, you shech the hen, you find inside eggs inside, still attached. Pluck it off, you can put it into your cheese omelet, and you could use the eggs. So how can you tell me it's only a bay when it comes out? So the Rabbi says, you're right, it's a different interpretation. What does it mean that when it comes out it's finished? Then it maters l'achal b'yamtiv. Then you could go ahead and eat it on Yom Tov. Meaning, what it's saying is that when it comes out from before Yom Tov, then it's mutter, because that means it was finished as a beya from a weekday. But let's say it didn't come out, but rather it's b'mei ima. It's still in the mother's womb, so it didn't get finished yet in a weekday. Then asur l'achal b'Yom Tov. Then you're not allowed to eat on Yom Tov. Why? Because what we call hachana derabah. Because it wasn't prepared. You remember where we said that before Yom Tov, before Shabbos, everything has to be prepared, and here the egg wasn't fully prepared because it wasn't really finished yet. So it didn't come out before Yom Tov. Sorry, it's not considered finished.
But it's not an egg, it's part of the chicken.
No, we're saying if it comes out, let's say.
But it's not coming out. Once it's inside, it's
but we're saying if it comes out, if it didn't come out, if it didn't come out before Yom Tov, then it wasn't really prepared. It wasn't because it's only prepared when it's only finished, which is finished preparing from before Yom Tov. The Gemara says, how could you say this? But what Tanya in the Beitzah that says, someone shafts chicken, and he finds inside fully finished eggs inside the chicken. You're allowed to eat them on Yom Tov. Now, what you see from there is that maybe that's related to the question that you're saying, but it seems like that it doesn't have to come out to be permitted on Yom Tov. Even if it didn't come out, you're allowed to eat those eggs on Yom Tov. That contradicts what you're saying. If you're going to say we don't paskin like this Beitzah, because Kamashman, but this Beitzah is coming to teach us something that might delay Shmin b'Masnitin, which we didn't learn in any Mishnah. No Mishnah does Rebbe say such a halacha. And a famous quote from the Gemara, and Rebbe Leishon, if Rebbe didn't teach Reb Chia who put together Beitzah, Minayla, where does he get this from? So therefore, don't ask me from this Beitzah. It says, but it's a Mishnah. It's our Mishnah. Our Masechta opened up by saying, the egg is laid on Yom Tov. Beishamim says you could eat it, you can't eat it. But says the Gemara, wait a second. So where do we have the machlik b'sham misil? El benolda, regarding if it was laid. Al b'mei iman, but in the mother's womb, which there's no problem. But noilid, which is the point really that you were bringing up, it's better in the mother's womb because it's not noilid. Devei hakol shari, and everyone agrees it's going to be permitted. So you can't tell me that the halacha that was being said of Rav, that an egg when it comes out it's finished, and only if it came out before Yom Tov is you're going to be able to eat it on Yom Tov, because that's hachana d'Abba. See clearly from our Mishnah, not like that. We say even if it didn't come out, even if it's in the mother's womb, you would be allowed, according to everyone, eat it on Yom Tov. So you see, it doesn't have to come out from before Yom Tov. And if you're going to say no, they still it's not true. No, it's not true. Even in the mother's womb is going to be asr because yes, hachana d'Abba, because it wasn't fully prepared. And Bahadik Tani know this, and why we're saying specifically when it was laid on Yom Tov. Why don't you say even in the womb? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because we just wanted to say the thrust and the strength of the dispute of Bishamai. His chiddush is even if it was laid, there's a noilid, a muktzah, even that's going to be permitted. But says Gemara, but I still have a difficulty because the problem would be then if you're going to say such an interpretation. So then that Beitzah we quoted before, who's saying this Beitzah? In other words, what are we saying? When the Beitzah said that if someone goes and slaughters a chicken, and he finds full-fledged eggs, so the Beitzah said what? You're allowed to eat on Yom Tov. So Mani, who is the time of the Beitzah? It's loy beishamai. It can't be beishamai because what are you talking about in the mother's womb? The bigger chiddush is nolda, is noilid, is muktzah, and even that holds mutter. But Beisil, and neither is Beisil, because you tell Beisil holds even in the mother's womb is going to be asur. So obviously you can't say this, and obviously Beisil holds it is mutter b'mei iman, and if it is mutter b'mei iman, you just rejected the interpretation you said before that it's only going to be mutter if it was laid from before Yom Tov. So the Rav Gemara concludes that in Mitzias and Nigmara, what does it mean? What is this halacha of Rav that when the egg comes out then it's finished? It means then umagadeles efreichem. It means to say then it could hatch a chick, which the halachic application is regarding business dealings. that if, let's say, an egg was laid, so then it finished its maturation, its development, and it's able to go ahead and have chickens hatch from it. But if, let's say, you find a b'me'ima, you find the egg in the mother's womb, it's not going to be able to produce a chick. As the Gemara says, what's the halachic relevancy of this? Is for buying and selling. So therefore, if, let's say, someone went to buy an egg, which is to have a farm of chicks, if he sells him those that are b'mei iman, he took it out and he shechted the chick and said, oh great, I have eggs inside of it, let me sell it to this guy. It's a mekech toyes, it's a mistaken acquisition, and the mekech is going to be bottled because this is not what I wanted. I didn't just want an egg, I wanted an egg that can make it a chicken, this cannot make it. Like the following story, this person said, Beye, the eggs, the pachya, of pachya. What is pachya? Pachya is similar to the word of paya, because a ches and ayin are interchangeable. The word paya means like of screaming, which it means to say basically that it's born from a living tarnagulis which screams when it gives birth. Laman, who has a lebedige wilde aye. So Yavle Bey the Shchuta, they gave him egg that was shechted. Like I made the Razikim, but Rabbi says, Mekech Taisu, don't worry, this is sale is a mistake. And it goes back, the sale is void. So Gemara says, Pshita, what's the Chiddush? Obviously it's a Mekech Taisu. He explicitly said he wants the pachid from a living one, not from a shechted one. So the Gemara says, no, Magim, what would you say? That actually, this guy who wanted from a lebediga, from a living one, he really wanted it to shecht it. He wanted to actually eat the chick. I did come to the pachia. This that he says that from a screaming one, meaning that it was a living mother, not a shechted mother, mishum de tzriben, because the word tzriben means that it's fully matured, which that it's just because it's better quality. So then you're going to say lamay nafkamina, but what's the difference? Who cares if he wanted it for eating or if he wanted it for chicks? Even so, it's still a mekach tois. You see, he wanted the pachia from a living one, and they gave him one that they found in the mother that was shechted. So the Gemara says, I'll tell you the difference would be L'meisvela beini beini. You would give him back the difference in price between the eggs from a living animal mother and from a chicken that was shechted and you found the eggs inside. Because if he wanted to eat it, that's not considered a mekach that should be void, because they're both edible. It's just that one's higher quality, and therefore, let's say you go to the restaurant and you order a steak and medium rare, and it's not to your liking. So they're going to say, okay, we're giving it to you on the house, we're giving you all your money back. No, if you ordered a steak and they give you a penny alavadka, this is not what I ordered. This is not even close. This is not even in the ballpark. What are you doing over here? Oh, sorry, so we'll refund your money. But if you ordered a steak and you spent $370, and he's like, this is not what I paid $370 for. This is maybe a $150 steak, not a $370. Okay, so we'll refund that amount of the difference. That's the difference. If it would have been that you wanted it for eating, you wanted the tzriban only because it's better quality, then they would give you back the difference. Kamash Malan, that's the chiddush that Rabbi was saying, that no, generally someone who wants to have a beitzah daf, an egg from a living chicken, he wants it that it can lay eggs and hatch a future egg, chicks, and therefore it's not worth anything for him because it's not the purpose. It's not. He doesn't want to eat it. He wants to, and he can't have, and that's why we're saying that was Rav's halacha, that it's not going to be considered nigmar, finished, which is for the purposes of hatching eggs only in Yitziasa, only when the final comes out. That was the difference, and that was the halacha we're going to make of them.